What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is one of those highly requested videos. People have been asking for this for a while now. And what can I say? It's up to me to give the people what they want. So we're going to be going start to finish in detail on how to put together a blueprint website for your bricks builder stack. I'm talking about, we're gonna go into every theme setting, every plugin setting in my stack, how to do the custom post types, the custom fields, to get everything to be a base level to start a brand new project. And if you don't know what a blueprint website is, and you consider yourself to be a freelancer or an agency, you really need to pay attention and follow along with this video. Because what a blueprint website is, I say everybody needs one. If you're a freelancer, if you're an agency, you need a blueprint website. What this blueprint website allows me to do, now I set mine up in grid pane. We're not going to cover the grid pane version of this. We're going to cover just a standard version of a blueprint website, and then I'm going to show you how to deploy it. It's a little bit different than the way that I do it because I do it in grid pane. But if I show you how to do it in grid pane and you don't use grid pane, it's not going to help you any, right? So I'm going to show you a generic WordPress version that anybody can set up, anybody can deploy, okay? But what I do with my blueprint is in grid pane, when I want to start a new project, I simply take my blueprint site and I say, clone it, and it clones it to a brand new URL. And in seconds, I am off to the races with bricks, automatic CSS, frames, my whole plugin stack. Everything is licensed already. Everything is activated and ready to go. All of my custom post types are there that I use on every single website. All the settings are the way that I want it. And so I don't have to do any setup for a new project. In seconds, I'm ready to go. If you, when you get a new project, are installing all your plugins, putting in all your license keys, reconfiguring all your settings to how you like them, you're doing that for every single project, that is not efficient, my friend. Time is money, and you don't want to be a chump, as we talk about on this channel all the time. That is chump level behavior, setting settings and plugins and themes and all of that every single time you spin up a new WordPress website. No, my friend. That is not how we do it around here. So I'm going to show you again, exactly start to finish, every single setting, every single detail for setting up a blueprint website. And I'm going to show you absolutely free. So what you need to do to pay for this content is you need to hit like. I don't have any sponsors. I don't want any sponsors. That's not what this channel is about. I need you to pay with a like. I need you to pay with a comment and a subscription. That is it, okay? So before we continue, hit like right now on the video, and then after we're done, drop a comment. Let me know what you thought, okay? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, and we're gonna dive right in. So I am using something called Local by Flywheel. There's a hosting company called Flywheel, and they produce the software called Local. It allows you to do local WordPress installations very easy with basically no technical setup whatsoever. So you should download Local if you want to follow along exactly with this tutorial. But I will say, if you already, if you want to spin up a dev environment in whatever hosting panel that you happen to use, and that's where you want to do this, absolutely go do it there. Perfectly fine. You don't have to use Local. You don't have to follow this exact setup process, okay? You can just catch up with when we start inside of WordPress. That's where you can begin in whatever environment you want to set that up in. So I'm going to go ahead and click the plus sign. There is one really important step here, though. I'm going to hit continue on WordPress site. It's going to say, what is your site's name? I'm going to say blueprint, and then I'm going to say bricks because this is a bricks blueprint. There may be an Oxygen blueprint, maybe a Generate Press blueprint. Whatever you happen to use, you need to name it according to what that stack is, because we all know that if I use Oxygen instead of bricks, there's going to be different plugins in that stack. It's going to be different settings. It's going to need a different setup, which means it requires a different blueprint. I will do a separate video on my Oxygen blueprint stack, okay? But that's neither here nor there. We're going to continue with the bricks blueprint. I'm going to choose the preferred environment, hit continue. This is very important right here. WordPress username. You need to use your name, okay? And so I'm gonna use kevin@digitalgravy.co. That's my agency email address. Do not put admin here. Do not put anything generic because you can't change it later. So go ahead and put you, because you're the person that's gonna be in here. We're gonna do user management as part of this blueprint setup here, but go ahead and just set up your WordPress username as your correct username from the jump. And then you can set up your email as well and choose no, this is not a multi-site. It's gonna go ahead and spin up this blueprint site for me. It's gonna ask me for my main computer credentials, and it's gonna do this very, very quick. Installing WordPress, there we go. It's pretty much done. First thing right off the bat, you don't wanna have to deal with logins and all that stuff, so just click this one-click admin, turn that on, and then make sure that you are selected as the admin to log into. And then you can go ahead and straight away click WP admin, and it's gonna open this new website in a new tab. Okay, sorry, I had to get it onto my screen properly. The minute you get into WordPress, here's what I do. Maybe you don't want to do this, but here's what I do. I get rid of this notice. I go to screen options and I get rid of every stupid little widget that they try to put on this dashboard. All right, now I've got a nice clean slate to start with. Let me pull up my notes, because here's the thing about blueprints, guys. You know, you do it once, you set it and forget it. And so it's not a thing that I do over and over and over again. Thus, I don't have every single setting and all of that memorized. So I made some notes and I'm going to follow the notes. This is also going to make sure that we stay on course and I'm not just randomly poking around WordPress and bricks and all of these plugins. We're going to go step by step by step. I'm going to show you every single setting. If you installed your dev site in a different environment, that's fine, but you should now be on the WordPress admin screen and you can follow along from here. The first place we're gonna go is settings, and we're gonna go to general, and I'm gonna say that this is a, you can either say bricks blueprint or you can say digital gravy blueprint. I don't write digital gravy. That's my agency. That's not your agency, right? Put your agency and then blueprint. All right. Whatever makes sense to you that you want to be as your default blueprint WordPress website site title. That's what you need to put in the site title field. Okay. Should already have your administration email address correct. Next thing we're going to do, go down to time zone and open up this horrible, absolutely horrific dumpster fire of a dropdown and do your best to find your time zone in this list. I'm gonna pick New York because that happens to be in, that's the time zone I'm in. But go ahead and find your area, set your time zone properly. I like to set the date format as the default, the time format as the default. The week starts on Monday as far as I'm concerned. I don't know about you. I'm gonna go ahead and hit save changes. This stuff is not mission critical right here. You just set this up however you wanna set it up, okay? Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna hop into reading. We're gonna choose a static page and we're gonna choose the sample page as our home page. That is, we're gonna edit that in a minute. We're gonna actually make it our home page, but you don't want your latest post to be set in the reading settings. You want a static page and you want your home page set right here. The next thing we're gonna do, important in my estimation, if you are doing this on a live development server, you need to check this box. Discourage search engines from indexing this site. Why? You don't want Google crawling and indexing a site that you are currently working on that is not a live site and not a real site. So you want to discourage search engines. If you do all of your development locally and nothing is live online and crawlable, you don't have to check this. Now, if you do check this box, as I recommend, you need to have an SOP. That means standard operating procedure for what happens when a website goes live. And guess what, my friends? You better, in your SOP, put in big bold letters, uncheck the search engine visibility box. Because if you put a site live and you want Google to crawl it and you want Google to index it, which I would imagine you do for live websites, this checkbox will screw you. So you need to make sure it is big, bold, red, whatever it needs to be in your SOP for launching a new website to uncheck this box. But for the purposes of our blueprint site, we do want it checked. I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and we are done with that. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to go into the media section. So click on media here. I feel like these are just not acceptable sizes. They feel very old school to me. Back when monitors were fat and tiny, like small screen size, gigantic, 30-pound monitor. That's probably what these settings are from. I go ahead and change these to 960, and I do the large as 1920. And that's it. We're going to hit save changes. Oh, and then we're going to uncheck this box right here because nobody wants this nonsense to happen. There are better ways to organize your media files. Putting them into generic month and year-based folders with no other additional context is a bad way to organize media files in my estimation. So uncheck that box and then hit save changes. The next thing we're going to do is head over to permalinks, and the default is post name. Go ahead and keep that as the default. Let that remain as the default. I am not a fan of putting other shenanigans into the URLs. It's not good for SEO. Just keep it nice and clean and simple with post name. Save changes here, and we are done. Next thing we're going to do is go over to users. Now, you see the default user that I put in right here. You also want to go in and make sure that you actually put in your stuff and set the display name as something that is appropriate. It's automatically pulling in this. If you want to have a bio in here, I don't think this is necessary because you're going to be, if this is a freelancer agency blueprint, this isn't for your personal sites, right? So like your bio and all that doesn't really matter. You can go ahead and change your password at this point if you want to have the same password on every site. Whatever you want to do there is fine, but go ahead and update that profile. And then what you're going to want to do is put in every team member that needs to have automatic access to new projects. This will save you a bunch of time so that when you set up a new project, you don't have to go in and add all of the users who need to be on that project. I just add all of my key devs onto our blueprint site. And that way, when I ask for help from one of them on a project, I don't have to worry about going. They're already added to every site that we work on. So I would highly recommend you do that. Go in and add the default users who are on your team who need to have access to all of your projects. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to install our themes. So we're going to go to Appearance and we're going to go to Themes. And what I do is I delete these WordPress themes right here. And this is a bricks blueprint stack. So what we're going to do is we are going to add bricks. So I'm going to hit Upload Theme. And what I would recommend doing is kind of put everything into a folder, nice and organized, all the plugin files, all the theme files, all of the license keys. Just go ahead and put all of that in. And you're going to see I have Bricks Builder right here. And these are actually old, but it's okay because once you put in the license key, you can simply update them to the latest version. Okay, I'm going to activate this, and then we're going to go back to Appearance and Themes. So I've actually put in the Bricks theme. I also want you to put in the Bricks child theme. Even if you don't use the child theme, it's kind of best practice to have it on your installs ready to go in case you need it. So I'm going to hit Activate here. Perfect. And I'm going to go to Appearance Themes and make sure our child theme is the active theme, and then get rid of all other WordPress standard themes. So you should just be left with Bricks and the Bricks child theme, and the Bricks child theme should be active. Now I'm going to pause for a minute. I'm going to go and put in my license key for Bricks, and then we're going to move on. All right, my Bricks theme is active. The next thing that we are going to tackle is plugins. If you go to the plugins area, you're going to notice that it is blank. Not every environment is going to have a blank plugins list like this. If you're on like Bluehost or HostGator, number one, get off those trash hosts. Get a real legitimate host. But sometimes you will see some default plugins installed here. If at all possible, they're probably junk, they're probably trash, you probably don't need them. Go ahead and delete them. I'm gonna give you like a great stack, okay? And I've already done a video on my entire plugin stack. I'm not gonna rehash that. I will link to it down below in the description. It's basically every plugin I install by default and why I do that and what their value is. And that's really the only stack you need when you're using something like Bricks Builder, okay? But I'm gonna link to that below. What I'm going to show you in this section is how the most efficient way to get your plugins in. Now, again, if you're using local, you can follow along. If you're not using local, you're gonna have to do this a bit differently, but I would recommend probably doing it via FTP. Now, when you're doing a local install, all I have to do is I go up here to open site folder, or go to site folder, and it's gonna open this website right here. Then I am going to open a folder next to it, and I'm going to go to my plugins folder, just like this. And so now I have these two side by side. So what you want to do is basically go folder by folder. You want to expand the zip file for the plugin so that if I double click it, it should expand it. Thank you. Okay, I don't know what the delay was about. And then you take the folder and drag it into the plugins folder over here. It's going to go ahead and move that. Now I'm doing it out of a cloud folder, so it's going to say preparing to move plugins, and it's going to kind of download it, and then it's going to move it over, which is not, super efficient, especially since, I'm trying to save space and I don't have them all automatically synced. But again, I don't do this. I only do this once ever, and then it's done for me. I'm just doing it again for you guys right now. But basically what you need to do is make sure that all of your core plugins are expanded and then uploaded via FTP or switched over. Or if you want to do it the super manual route, you can just go into this WordPress dashboard and hit add new, and then select it and upload it, and add new and select it and upload. You can absolutely do it like that if you want. Whatever you feel is the most efficient way to get all your default plugins into WordPress, go ahead and do that process. Then put in all of your license keys, and because I'm not going to make you watch me do this one by one and license key. I'm going to go ahead and pause. I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to come back. I won't change any settings. I am going to show you every single plugin, how to set it up. So we're going to go over every single setting for the most part in these plugins. But for right now, I'm going to pause. I'm going to install the plugins, put in the license keys, and then I'm going to come right back. So I've put in all of our key plugins. I put in all of the license keys. I actually also made my screen resolution better so you guys could see this stuff easier. I realized it was a little small earlier. So here, we'll just do a quick overview. Again, I did an entire video dedicated to my plugin stack, but just to kind of recap really fast. Active campaign postmark, which I believe was not in my other official stack video, but we use this for transactional emails. This is the only plugin that I'm not going to show you how to set up today, because I'm going to do a complete separate video on postmark and why I recommend it and how to get it set up and running. Next is Admin Columns Pro. We have Automatic CSS. We have Frames, Happy Files Pro, Metabox all-in-one. So this one's free. This is the Pro add-on. Perfmatters, RankMath SEO, RankMath SEO Pro. This is the only one that we're going to leave deactivated. I will activate it when we do the settings for it, but then we're going to deactivate it again because it actually has to be truly activated on a per URL basis. So you don't want to activate it on a URL. You just want to leave it kind of deactivated. And then when you're ready to deploy a live site, that's when you go ahead and activate RankMath Pro. And then you activate it. You activate that URL with the RankMath service or dashboard or whatever. Then you're going to have ShortPixel for image optimization, WP Grid Builder, which I mainly use for facets. There's a Bricks add-on for WP Grid Builder. Then there's WPCodeBox, which is all external code, writing Sass, all of that good stuff, and then WSForm Pro. So that is my plugin stack. You put in all of your license keys, very important, and then make sure you update all plugins that have updates available so that you are constantly keeping your Blueprint website up to date. Okay, so all of this is in. Let's go on to the next step, which is going to be going to the posts area. And we are going to add 3 dummy posts. We're going to get rid of the one that says hello world that comes with WordPress. And we're just going to add a new post. This is going to say sample post number 1. And then we're going to go to websiteipsum.com and just go ahead and grab some text like this. Drop that in, and then we can also go over to our featured image area, and we can set a featured image, and we just need to grab a placeholder image of some sort. You can go to Unsplash, whatever you want to do. But first, what I'm going to do is in this folders area, create a folder called placeholders. And this is going to organize any placeholders. And this makes them easy to delete later if you ever want to just clean up your media library and say, hey, any placeholders that we started with, I don't want those anymore. We have no use for them. Go ahead and get rid of them. You can just delete all of the images in the placeholders folder, delete the placeholders folder, and then everything is nice and clean. So I am going to go over to Unsplash. Sorry, it escaped my brain for a second. And we're just going to say placeholder. I don't even know what that's going to bring up. And we'll just take this flower as an example. We'll just use this flower placeholder. You can use literally any placeholder image that you want to use. So I'm going to go ahead and upload this to the placeholders folder. And I'm going to set the featured image on there. I'm going to go ahead and hit publish. And then I'm going to go back. And the reason we're doing this, why are we putting in sample posts? Why are we putting in dummy content into our WordPress install? Because when you're building out pages and you need to, for example, query a loop, okay, or you need to set up a query loop, you need it to be able to query something. And so this allows you to have content ready to go to be queried. And this stuff is very easy to delete once you actually build out a new website and the real content is in there. Very easy to remove this. Sample post number 2, but you see, it's kind of a pain in the butt if you decide you're going to add a query loop to a page and there's no sample content there. This takes you out of your workflow and you're like, oh, I got to go put in some sample posts so that I have something to query. And you don't want to be in that situation, okay? You don't want to be a chump. You want those sample posts ready to go. So the minute you're ready to configure a query loop, there's already something to query. All right, so we have sample post number 2. Same thing over here. I'm going to go ahead and set the featured image on this to my placeholder. I'll go ahead and hit publish here. And then we're going to go and do one more sample post. This is going to be sample post number 3. Put in my content and then put in my featured image, which is my placeholder. Go ahead and hit publish there. So now our sample posts are ready to go. Next thing we're going to do is hop over to pages. We are going to delete the privacy policy page. We are going to open the sample page. We're going to change that to home. We're going to remove all of the content, which Gutenberg does not let me do easily. Okay, so you want blank content in the body of your homepage right here. And then we want to make sure that you can't customize the URL or anything like that. Just go ahead and hit update. Make sure that it's still published. It's not a draft or anything like that. And then hop back out. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create an about page because, guys, those are on pretty much every single website. The content is just going to be blank. We're not going to worry about it, but we want it to be there. We want it to exist. This is also going to help provide some things for your default menu that you're going to configure. We're going to create a contact page. I prefer contact versus contact us. Go ahead and hit publish on that and then hop back out. Now, if you only work with service-based businesses, for example, and you want to create a services page, I actually wouldn't recommend that because I tend to use the archive page. We're going to create a services custom post type in just a minute. So don't go overboard here. Don't add anything else until you see the rest of what we're going to do. And then if you determine, hey, there's a couple other things I want to add here by default, hey, it's your Blueprint site. It's up to you. You can do whatever you want, okay? You don't have to do it exactly the way that I do it. So we've got home, about, and contact. Those are our 3 pages. Now that we have pages, we can go over to appearance and we can go to menus and we can create our first menu. This is going to be just our default menu. And then I'm going to go ahead and create this menu. And I am going to add the contact, the about. Let's just view all. Home, about, contact. Add to menu. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit save menu. And now, am I obviously going to add other pages and other stuff to the menu on different? Yeah, but we're going to make those decisions when I'm actually working on a project. This is just my blueprint. This is just my starting point. All right, so I've got my menu created. The next thing I'm going to do is go to my media library. Okay, right over here. We already have a placeholders folder. I'm going to go ahead and add one more. This one's going to be called branding. I actually don't want to add that to my placeholders folder, so I'm going to drag it out there. And this functionality is from Happy Files Pro. So if I go to plugins and we look at right here, Happy Files Pro, that's what's giving me this functionality. So you're not going to be able to do this if you don't have Happy Files Pro. I'd recommend you get Happy Files Pro, and then you can have this awesome organization area for your media library. You can also choose to organize posts in pages and all this other stuff in this format using Happy Files Pro. I don't personally do that, but I know, some use cases, it would be very, very, very beneficial. The next thing we're gonna do is set up some common custom post types. Again, this is my stack. If your stack needs to be different, make it different. But the principle is, if you have custom post types that you use on pretty much every single project, go ahead and set them up ahead of time. So I'm gonna create one for services. We're gonna go to MetaBox, post types, add new post type. And this one is gonna be called services as the plural name, service as the singular name, and then services as the slug. And then for this one, we're just gonna go ahead and hit publish. Okay, and so right away, we see we have services available to us as a new custom post type. I'm gonna add another post type. This one is gonna be called team. And so it's actually gonna be called team member. And then team members would be the plural, team member, and then team is just gonna be our slug. I'm gonna go ahead and hit publish on that. And then we are going to remove the team slug. If this is something that we need later, then we can always add it back, but I'm gonna go to advanced and then uncheck publicly queryable, and I'm gonna hit update there. Now, if I go into team members, what that's gonna do is I'm gonna say sample team member. Okay, and then this is gonna be number 1, or I'll just put team member number 1. Always, again, good to have some dummy content in here to be able to query. I'm gonna hit publish, and then go back. And then you're gonna notice there's no view link, right? Because there's no URL. Because a lot of times on projects, we put in team members, but we don't want them to have their own page. We're gonna show their information just in a little blurb on the team, on the about page, or in the team section or whatever, or we're gonna display their information from custom fields in a modal, but we don't actually want them to have an indexable URL because there's not enough content about them to justify them having their own page. So we just remove the URL by default. And then if there is a situation where the team members are gonna have their individual URLs, which we've done on some projects in the past, we can always just reactivate the ability for that to have a URL. But this kind of saves us on those sites where we don't intend for them to have URLs and we don't want URLs indexed or crawled or anything like that. We don't want thin content on the website. So it's best to just deactivate the URL. All right, back to MetaBox and back to post types. We're gonna add another custom post type. This is gonna be called reviews. Review is gonna be the singular, reviews is gonna be the plural. And I'm gonna do the exact same thing here under advanced. This is not publicly queryable, and I'll hit publish. If you don't know why I'm creating these custom post types, I have a video all about custom post types, the top 10 uses for custom post types, why you should be using them on every single website, how this is the core of using a content management system. The last thing on earth you wanna do is put team members and review things like that into pages or into posts. That is an absolute atrocity in the WordPress world as far as I'm concerned. These things need to be custom post types. So that's exactly why we're setting them up as custom post types. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create a locations custom post type. So locations, location, locations, and then this one would get URLs. In most cases, you're gonna have a location page for each location. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit save there. Back to post types, new post type. This one is gonna be our policy pages. So all of our legal stuff, right? So I'm gonna do policies. You could also do legal here. I feel like policies a little bit more generic, so tends to work better. And then these do need their URLs, obviously. So we're gonna go ahead and hit publish there. And then look at how our content management system, our database, is shaping up. We've got policy pages, locations, reviews, team members, services. Now, one thing I like to do that's an additional step is to make sure you order these, right? I tend to put them in order of importance. Obviously, the policy pages, not really like super important. That should kind of be at the bottom here. So what you're gonna do is in MetaBox, go into post types and then start editing your post types, okay? So I'm gonna choose service and then I'm gonna go to advanced, and under this, I wanna make sure that it's under comments right here. So it's like the first thing, and then I hit update. Then I'm gonna go back into my post types. I'm gonna go to locations. That's probably the second most important thing. So I'm gonna go to advanced, and then I am going to go to menu position after, and I'm gonna choose services. hit update, and good. And then I'm going to go into post types here. I'm going to go to reviews. That's probably going to be next. Advanced, menu position, after, and then we can do locations, hit update. Perfect. Then I'm going to go back into post types. I am going to go to policy pages. Now let's do team next. So we're going to go to team member, and we're going to go to advanced. We're going to put this one after our locations, update. And then I'm going to policy pages last. So policy pages, advanced, menu position, after. And this one's going to come after our reviews. Hit update. Perfect. Okay. What happened to team members there? Did I put team members in the wrong spot? So we've got locations, policy pages, reviews, team members. Let's put policy pages after team members. So policy page, advanced, after, team members. Update. Yeah, I chose the wrong one for sure. So now I've got services, locations, reviews, team members, and policy pages. Much, much, much more logical than it was before when it was kind of just random. Now, if you want to do that, I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me do this, but if you want to go the extra step of changing these icons, I would recommend doing that. You would go to MetaBox, post types, choose the post type like policy page, go to advanced, and then there's an entire kind of library of stuff here, right? So I can search for something, well, file didn't actually do anything. But let's say I wanted to choose this little archive box right here. I can go ahead and choose that, hit update, and now that policy page has its own custom icon. That's a nice finishing touch to your custom post types. So I would definitely recommend going in and changing out those icons. Again, I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me go through icon after icon, finding the best icons for each of these things. Next thing I'm going to do is go into Bricks, and we're going to start looking at our settings in Bricks Builder. So I'm in Brick Settings right here. I am going to apply to the following post types. We have pages, of course, and then I also want services to, this is basically you're choosing where is Bricks Builder usable, okay? Can I use Bricks Builder to edit a services page? I would want that to happen. So I'm gonna tick this on. Should I be able to edit a team member with Bricks? Well, only if the team member is going to have their own custom URL. We can determine that at a later time. But always, it's going to be used for my services pages 100% of the time. So I need to activate it there. I'm never going to use it on posts. So always leave it deactivated on posts. You don't even want to get into a situation where you're trying to use Bricks Builder on normal posts in WordPress. Don't do that. Policy pages, locations, review, all of this stuff is pretty much going to be driven by templates. So we actually don't need the Bricks Builder activated on these individual post types. Okay, next thing we're going to do is SVG uploads. I would activate this for administrator and editor. We're going to leave these Gutenberg switches off right here. Under miscellaneous, we're going to disable the Bricks open graph meta tags. We're using RankMath SEO. So we don't want Bricks trying to do a bunch of SEO stuff. We want RankMath to handle all of that. We're not going to generate custom image sizes. I have a script for generating custom image sizes. If you don't want to use that script, then you may want to activate this, but we're going to keep that deactivated. Next thing, we are going to skip this one. No enable, no disable skip links. We want skip links to be on this website. And then no to query Bricks data in search results. Yes, we do want custom breakpoints. And then we can leave all of the converts unchecked. Go ahead and save settings. Now, as soon as you save settings here, go ahead and regenerate the CSS files. There's really nothing there, but you changed the setting related to that. So go ahead and just regenerate it to be safe. Okay, we're heading over to Builder Access. Under Editor, we want, what do we want? Edit content for the editor, okay? Sorry, I gotta refer to my notes to all this stuff because, again, you do this once, you set it, forget it, you never touch it again. So I don't have all this stuff memorized. So editor, we want edit content, no access to all the others. For code execution, I do this for the administrator and the editor and for nobody else, okay? Your editors should know what they're doing. If you have editors that don't know what they're doing, then definitely don't allow code execution for them. All of my editors, the people that we allow access to sites that have the editor role, they all know what they're doing. So we're gonna add code execution for them. I'm gonna go ahead and hit Save Settings. If you let clients edit your websites, we don't let clients edit sites. If you let clients edit sites and they get an editor role, then I would turn that off for them because clients don't know what they're doing. You don't want them grabbing random code from the internet and trying to plug it into a code block and do that. You don't want that going on. This is a security risk. It's not good whatsoever. So leave that off for them. All right, save settings here. Next thing we're going to do is go into templates, and I am going to grab a remote URL here, and this is going to be for setting up frames. So I'm going to go down, remote template URL is here, and then I'm going to go ahead and put in my remote template. I'm going to pause, put in my remote template password, and then I will come back. Nothing else is going to be set up on this page. Okay, I put in my remote template password, which is my frames license key, and then I'm going to move on to the builder settings. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do here is disable autosave. Yes. Why are we disabling autosave? Number one, it slows down the builder a little bit. Number two is sometimes you like to tweak and adjust and play around with things. You've already saved your content, you've saved your work. Now you're doing some playing around. You're like, I don't know if I wanna keep these changes. Well, this autosave will come behind you and be like, save, 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 save. And then suddenly, if you get into a situation where the undo isn't undoing the way that you wanted to, you're stuck with that stuff you were playing around with. I'm a professional. I'm a pro. I know when to save my work and when to not save my work. I don't need a builder making that decision for me. So I would highly recommend you disable autosave. And then I always use the dark mode for Bricks Builder. Language, go ahead and set this to whatever you want it to be. This is all, that's all you, fam. Okay, you make some of these decisions. Toolbar logo link. We want this to be preview, and we do want to open it in a new tab. So when you're in the builder, there's that little Bricks logo top left. If you want to quickly see the front end of your site and preview the page you're working on, you can click that logo. It'll open in a new tab. That's what we want that logo to do. All right, next one. I feel like this is a really, really important one. On this canvas, disable element spacing. What this does is on the canvas, you can drag more padding or more margin or whatever. So it creates draggable areas on the canvas where you can add margin to things, add padding to things. I think that beginners really think that this is a special thing. They really think this is a good thing. This is a disaster waiting to happen if you care about proper units. You could, because it's always going to do it in pixels, basically, which we never use pixels in pro land of building websites. And then we also don't use random values. We're never dragging stuff around, go, ooh, that looks good. That looks great. We use standard values and standard spacing mathematically calculated. We use a framework called Automatic.css. We're doing all of this very, very intentionally. Being able to drag handles for width and spacing and all this other stuff, not the kind of situation that we want to be in. And in fact, it can only mess you up. So if you're trying not to do that, but you leave this check, sometimes you're clicking around the canvas and you'll notice it'll accidentally, I should say, grab your mouse, like you're trying to click and it actually hits the spacing thing. And so suddenly you're adding spacing where you never intended to touch the spacing values for that thing. And it can only cause problems. So we disable it. So go ahead and hit disable there. Be a pro and disable this and stop dragging your cute little margin and padding handles around. Okay. All right. So on the element actions, we want duplicate turned on, delete turned on. We want, let me get back to where are we here? Structure, delete. Okay, collapse on load. We want this to be yes. And then expand active element and scroll into view. We want that to be yes. Everything wraps with a block. That is correct. Next, we want disable REST API, no. Render dynamic data, no. And then no for all of these drop downs. Go ahead and hit save. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is go to our performance tab. We are going to disable emojis. Do not disable embed. If you want to use YouTube videos and things like that, don't disable embed. Disable Google Fonts. I do this. We don't want the entire Google Fonts library loading. We're actually going to load our fonts locally in the custom fonts area of Bricks. So I would recommend you turn off Google Fonts. Just go ahead and disable those. I disable lazy loading as well because we're going to do lazy loading via Perfmatters. So go ahead and disable here. Disable jQuery migrate. Cache query loops I've had some trouble with in the past, so I don't turn that on. This one is very important. Add element ID and class as needed. Very, very important for ultra clean code output. And then this is another one for ultra clean code output in ultra clean CSS. Disable chaining element and global class. Now, let's pause here. This is a brand new setting as of the recording of this video. Automatic CSS is not compatible with this setting at this time. We are purposefully waiting. We're giving a one release cycle for people to get updated with their ACSS, because this will break your website, all right? So we're going to be giving one release cycle. Next version of ACSS will be compatible with this feature, and then we will instruct every single ACSS user to turn this feature on. Class chaining is not something that we want happening on our websites. And thankfully, Bricks has allowed us to disable this. But again, as of the recording of this video, you need to leave chaining enabled until the new version of Automatic CSS is officially released. Then you will be safe to disable chaining. And that's what we eventually want to get to going forward. We're just in limbo right now, waiting for everybody to play catch up. Okay, CSS loading method is going to be external files, and then style sheets is going to be our web font loading method. Go ahead and hit save changes here. Perfect. Go into API keys. If you want to, put in your Unsplash API key. I would highly recommend putting in your Google Maps API key. If you plan on using reCAPTCHA on all your sites, go ahead and put in your API keys for those. I hope you're not using MailChimp, so you can skip this input right here. If you're using SendGrid, go ahead and put in your API. If you're using a Facebook connection of some sort, go ahead and put in your API for that. That's all individualized based on you. The only thing that I put in is the Google Maps API key. It's the only thing I put in. And we're not going to worry about watching me do that right now. All right, custom code section. We're leaving this completely blank. You don't have to worry about anything there. And we are done with our Bricks settings area. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to install our custom fonts. I like to install Outfit on every site that we do. That's just going to be our starting font. Obviously, we're going to get the font the client is going to use, or whatever we're using on that project. We're going to put that in. We're going to delete the Outfit font files, but I don't want to start with some ugly ass font. I want to use a font that I like to look at when I'm first starting out with a website. So I'm going to put in Outfit, and we're going to do a normal, we're going to do a 700 bold, and we're going to do a black. All right, I'm going to hit edit on all three of these panels. And then what I'm free to do is hit upload on the TTF file. And guess what I'm going to do here? I'm going to make a new folder called fonts, and this is going to keep all of our fonts organized in the media library. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my Finder right here. I've already got my fonts folder selected. I've got Outfit right here. I'm going to grab regular. I'm going to grab bold, and I'm going to grab black, and I'm going to drag these in, and there they are. I'm going to select regular, and I'm going to hit select. I'm going to hit the upload on 700 TTF. I'm going to grab the bold. I'm going to grab this TTF upload down here for black, hit select, hit publish. And guys, that's all you have to do to locally install your font for your website. I'll say it again. I delete these when we put in the real font that we're going to use on the project, all right? But I want a nice starting point to work with in case I got to whip something up really fast. And I don't want all of the Google Fonts library installed on Bricks. All right, the next thing we're going to set up is Automatic CSS. I'm going to go down here and open the Automatic CSS dashboard. And we are going to start in the Viewport tab. Again, these are my personal starting point settings. Your settings may be different if you want them to be, but if you're like, hey, if it's good enough for Kevin, it's good enough for me. I want to use his settings and I want to start there. That's perfectly fine. You can go ahead and just copy all of my Automatic CSS settings. So my website width is going to be 1366. If I'm doing bigger, I'll make it bigger. I almost never go smaller than this. I just like 1366. It's a good, in the mix kind of viewport size or website width size. For various devices. Looks great on laptops, looks great, on desktops. It's not full width or anything like that on a big monitor, but I don't want it to be, but it's wide enough. So 1366 is kind of my go-to. We're going to leave the viewport minimum here. 1280, 992, 768, and 480 are perfectly fine for my other breakpoints. I'm not going to turn on the XXL or XS breakpoint. I leave those off. Those are only coming on if I'm going to do a much wider website. And then box layout is going to be off. My website background color is going to be a variable var white, and I'm going to go ahead and hit save on that. I'm going to go into typography. I'm going to keep this at 62.5%. My default text color is going to be var base ultra dark. So whatever I happen to choose as my base color, it's going to be the ultra dark version of that, which is fairly safe with a white background. It should always be a really, really, really good contrast. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is set our base size of our text. 16 and 18 are the defaults, and those are perfectly fine. I'm gonna leave this set at 1.33, 1.2, and my text line heights are gonna stay at 1.5 as our default. Our text line lengths, I'm gonna go ahead and clear these out. If you are installing the brand new version of Automatic CSS on a blank install, these will be blank by default for you now. So I just leave those blank until I'm into a new project and I'm figuring out what I want these line lengths to be. Okay, my text size overrides. I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna make my small text size 16 on desktop, 14 on mobile, and then this one is gonna be 14 on desktop and 13 on mobile. Those are my defaults for S and XS. Everything else gets left the way that it is. For my headings, I am going with 16 and 20 as my bases. For my scale, I'm going with 1.5, and then I'm going with 1.2 as my mobile scale. My line heights are going to be 1.2. That's perfectly fine as the default. My heading colors, I just tend to leave these default or do the same thing I did with the text, base ultra dark, and just put that on all of them. And then we can always come and change these later, no problem whatsoever. Okay, my line lengths for these are set to 100% by default. That's perfectly fine. And then on my overrides, we're going with 18 and 16. And on this one, we're going with 16 and then 14. Okay, I'm gonna save there. My larger multipliers, 1.15. Just to be clear, I never use this feature right here, but I'm going with 1.15 on both of these values, and then I'm gonna go ahead and hit save. Next thing we're gonna do is go into our spacing system. So for spacing, I'm leaving it at 24 and 30. We are staying at 1.5 and 1.33. Our base desktop multiplier is 3, and our mobile multiplier is gonna be 2. Our side padding is gonna go to 16, and our desktop side padding is gonna go to 60. So I've got 16 on the low end and I've got 60 on the high end. I'm sticking with M, XL, and M for all of our contextual spacing. Gonna go ahead and hit save there. I'm gonna go into buttons and links. So this 0.75, 1.5 is perfectly fine. I'm turning off the custom button text size for now. My width for my minimum button width is gonna go to 150. And then I'm turning off all of these buttons down here. So action is the only one I'm leaving on. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm turning off primary, turning off secondary, turning off accent, turning off base. I turn the black off because, you know, typically if you would turn the base on at that point, it really depends, but by default, I'm just gonna leave these off. In case I need them, I can always come turn them on, right? But I am leaving the white button on because it is good to have a white button in some scenarios. Additional styling. And then under my selection styling, right down here, this is like when you select text, I want to use my action. And then I want to use action dark for my selection text color. And then for my alternate, I want to use my base color. And then I want to use white as the alt selection text color. These are just the defaults that I like to use. These can always be customized later. Next thing I'm going to do is in my options panel, I am going to enable smooth scrolling. I am going to fix paragraph and heading spacing. I'm going to leave those defaults the way that they are. I'm going to enable variable expansion and validation. I'm going to activate pro mode. And then what I'm going to do is turn my Flexbox classes off, and I'm going to turn my column classes off as well. You can consider this to be like extra pro mode, pro mode plus pro. I don't know what you would want to call it. But that's the settings that I tend to rock and roll with. I'm going to go ahead and hit save there. And then I'm going to go to forms and I am going to load form styling. I'm going to go to frames. We need to turn on frame styling though, for sure. And then I'm going to make sure that I turn on any components that I use commonly. I don't use table of comments on a table of contents rather on every site, so I leave that off. I use a modal on pretty much every site, and I use the trigger on pretty much every site. And then of course we have the slider coming now. We've got a lot more components coming, so you'll be able to make decisions on these based on wherever you are in the future and what is available to you. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hit save changes there. We also want to make sure we adjust the template thumbnail size for bricks. All right, so Automatic CSS has all the defaults that I like to use now. What we're gonna do is go into the bricks builder. So I'm gonna go to pages and I'm gonna go to home and I'm gonna edit this with bricks. We're gonna take care of our builder settings right now. So I'm gonna go into settings, theme styles, and we need to create a new theme. I call this global. I'm gonna hit create. And then what we need to do is set the conditions to the entire website. And then I'm going to come down to typography. Perfect. And I'm making sure that this matches what I put into Automatic CSS as the root font size. It already does by default, so that's good. For my body, I'm going to choose the font family outfit. This is what we installed originally. And my font weight is going to be 400 there. Actually, you don't need to set it. It's going to be that way by default. No color, no font size, no nothing here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is on all headings, I'm going to choose outfit, but I'm going to set it to the bold style 700, which again, I think is the default. It's already showing me 700, so that you can actually leave that blank. Anything that you don't have to explicitly set, I would recommend not explicitly setting it. Okay, the next thing we need to do is come down to element container right here. And we need to set this to width of 1366. So this needs to match the website width that we set in Automatic CSS. I'm gonna go ahead and hit save. Now we are ready to take care of our templates. So I'm gonna go in here, bricks, templates, add new, and we are going to create a header template. And I'm gonna select over here on the side, we're gonna do header, hit publish, and literally I'm going to go in and start with a header. So I'm going to use frames for all of this so that we can get done really quickly. I mean, why wouldn't you if you have it available to you? I'm going to go in and select headers. There we go. And then I'm going to select header alpha, just something very basic. It's going to ask you this the first time you import a frame. Just go ahead and hit yes. And there it is. So now we have a header. Isn't that nice and awesome? And then I can go out and then I can go to add new and I'm going to do a footer and I'm going to select the footer and I'm going to hit publish. I'm going to edit with bricks and I am going to choose a footer. So I'm going to go down to footers and I am going to choose again, something very, very standard and typical, which is footer alpha. And I'm going to go back out. So now I have a header and I have a footer for my website. So I'm going to go into plugins. And I'm going to temporarily turn on RankMath Pro. Perfect. And I'm going to go into the RankMath area, which is right here. And I'm going to go to General Settings. Actually, no, we're going to go to Dashboard. And our modules, we're going to turn on 404. We're going to turn on Analytics, which is already on. We're going to turn on Image SEO. We're going to turn on Instant Indexing. The link counter, which was already on by default. Local SEO, I work primarily with local-based businesses, so we turn that on by default. And then redirections, absolutely make sure you turn on redirections. Schema is gonna stay on. We're gonna do the SEO analyzer, the sitemap for sure, and that's pretty much it there. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is go into General Settings. And we want to strip the category base. No, we leave that off. Redirect attachments is yes. And we want to redirect attachments to the home page. We're going to save changes on that. Next thing we're going to do is under breadcrumbs, we are going to enable the breadcrumbs, show the homepage link in the breadcrumbs. The homepage link is going to be a /. which is basically just a reference to the homepage. It's a dynamic reference. And then show categories, we want this to be yes. Everything else can be set as the default. I'm going to go ahead and hit save changes on that. Next, we're going to go into images. All right, let's go down. Images folder. Add missing alt, yes. Add missing title, yes. And then the others can all just be left as their default. Save changes there. Webmaster Tools, this stuff is all on a per site basis, so you can leave this all by default here. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is sitemap settings. Under here, we're going to click on attachments, and we are going to, we're going to make sure that this is not included in the sitemap. So attachments not included in the sitemap, not included in the HTML sitemap. Those should be the default, so just leave them off. Next is policy pages. We want to include those in the sitemap, yes. Next is services. So and these are your custom post types that we set up before. So I'm going to click on services. Yes, we want to include those in the sitemap. And then we're going to go to my templates. No, we do not want to include in the sitemap. Go ahead and hit save changes on your templates. So I'm going to come down to categories. We do want these included in the sitemap. Tags, we want to not include in the sitemap. Template tags and bundles, definitely not included in the sitemap. And that should be it for our RankMath default setup. Now, keep in mind, some of this stuff is going to be changing depending on the site you're actually working on. These are just the default starting points you want to set up for your RankMath. Okay, next thing we're going to do is go into WSForm. We're going to go to forms. We're going to click to start. We're going to say, hey, I'm familiar. I'm going to get started. And then we are going to, we notice we have no forms available to us. So we're going to add new. And we're just going to add a contact us form. And then what I do is I get rid of this GDPR text box right here. And so we're left with first name, last name, email, phone, your inquiry, and a submit button. And then I just changed the submit button text to contact us again. Go ahead and hit save. Or you can say like send email, like you could get real cute with it. Say like send email. You just never want your submit button to actually say submit. Go ahead and publish your changes right here. It's going to automatically be sending to the blog admin and all of that. This is actually, it's all good by default. I mean, WSForm, rock and roll, we're ready to go. So I've already got a contact form that I can drop into a page anytime I want. Next thing we're going to do is go to WPCodeBox. So we're going to come down here to WPCodeBox. Again, I highly, highly, highly recommend WPCodeBox. You're going to see why right here. All right, so the settings, I'm going to go over to settings here. Editor font size, I'm going to change that to 18. I tend to like the Dracula theme. My API key is already in. We are going to wrap long lines. We are going to enable dark mode, and then we're going to hit save changes on there. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new snippet called global. This is going to be our SCSS, our SAS style sheet. We are going to render this as an external file. We are going to minify the output. We are going to set everything else as the default. Go ahead and hit save here. And then after you click save, you can also click auto reload changes and then enable the global style sheet. So now we have our global SAS style sheet all ready to go. The next thing that we want to do is we want to click on repository and we want to install the following snippets. These are snippets that are publicly available that are just helper code snippets that you can add to any website that you want. Okay, so we are going to remove admin bar. Yes, remove admin bar for all users except admins. Okay, we don't want the remove on the front end. We want it on the front end. We just want to remove it for everybody that's not an admin. Hit download snippet. And then it's right there. We can go ahead and hit activate on that. So now that functionality is on our website. Click repository. Again, you're going to search for make WPCodeBox full width right here. Download the snippet. Go ahead and activate it. Perfect. Okay, then let's hit save. Then let's refresh. Think we should be good. Now check it out. WPCodeBox takes up the full width of the admin area. Awesome. Next one is add a duplicate button. So we're going to say add duplicate and it's going to find it right there. So this is, you know, that functionality is really handy where you are hovering over a post, you're like duplicate the post, duplicate the page, duplicate this review, whatever. That comes from, you don't need a plugin for that. You just download this little snippet and you're good to go. You enable it, awesome. Okay, the last one we're gonna do is Google Tag Manager code. So we're gonna go to repository, Google Tag Manager code, download snippet, and enable. Go ahead and hit save. All right, the next snippet we're gonna install is called Custom Image Sizes, and this is gonna be a PHP snippet. And this is going to add all of the image sizes that I prefer on my website. So whenever you upload a new image, it's gonna automatically generate the following sizes. This code right here, this code snippet is available inside of the inner circle if you want to get access to that. I'm gonna go ahead and enable this. Next, I'm gonna create a new snippet, and this one is gonna be called Custom Excerpt Length. I like to be able to control the length of excerpt outputs and dynamic data. And so I have a little snippet that does this. Again, this code snippet is available inside the inner circle if you want it. And that is gonna be it for WPCodeBox Setup. All right, the next thing that we're gonna do is go in and set our ShortPixel settings. So I'm gonna go into ShortPixel and we're gonna use lossy compression. We are not going to remove the EXIF data because sometimes EXIF data is really important for SEO. I don't wanna do this by default, okay? Yes, we are going to resize large images. We're gonna set 1920 and we're gonna set 1080. Go ahead and hit save changes on that. Go to the advanced tab, create WebP, yes. Deliver next versions, yes. And then you need to make sure, it says right here, it looks like you're running your site on an Nginx server. This means you can only achieve this functionality by directly configuring the server. You're gonna have to do some extra configuration. That's for a separate video. That's above the pay grade of this video right here. But ultimately, you wanna create WebP and you wanna deliver WebP on the front end. This is going to depend on your server configuration, okay? Optimize media on upload, yes. Optimize PDFs, yes. Optimize Retina, yes. Optimize other thumbnails, yes. CMYK to RGB, yes. Convert PNG to JPEG, yes. Don't force the conversion of transparency images, however. All right, save changes, perfect. All right, guys, the final thing that we are gonna set up is Perfmatters. All right, so we're gonna go through and do all of the default settings that I do. For Perfmatters, I do wanna explain that I do a lot more in Perfmatters to optimize websites for speed, but it's always project dependent. So what I'm gonna show you is just the starting point for optimization. It's not the ultimate optimization process for each website. I can do a couple, or maybe I'll just do a video. I'll do a video dedicated to optimizing a WordPress website with Perfmatters. I'm sure that's of interest to everybody. So I'll go ahead and do that at some point. All right, but my defaults, disable emojis, yes. Disable dash icons, yes. Disable embeds, no. XML RCP or RPC, gone. Guys, if you hover over this, it'll tell you what each one does. Remove jQuery migrate. I'm not gonna go into the detail on every single one. Hide WP version, yes. Remove WLW manifest. Remove RSD. Remove the short link. Disable the RSS, no. Remove RSS feed links, yes. Disable self pingbacks, yes. REST API, I'm gonna leave that as default. Remove REST API links, yes. Disable Google Maps, no, because we're usually using Google Maps. Disable the password meter, no. Disable comments, no. Remove comments URLs, no. Add blank favicon, no. Remove global styles, yes. Disable heartbeat. We're gonna say only allow when editing posts and pages. We're gonna put the heartbeat frequency at 60 seconds. We're gonna limit post revisions to 5, and our autosave interval is gonna be 5 minutes. Our custom login URL. I'm not gonna tell you mine. Why would I do that? Then everybody's gonna know, and then there's no point in hiding the login URL. But for security reasons, you should probably hide the login URL. So you can do something like hide me, or I wouldn't do that. Come up with something on your own, but definitely put something here. I'm not going to tell you what mine is, but you go ahead and put something here that you're going to remember and that makes sense to you. You don't want it to be like, admin or anything like that. Okay. Do something, less, more inconspicuous, let's say. Disable behavior message, and then the message, you can put whatever you want. But if somebody goes to the /WP admin page, it's going to give them this message. And so you want them to contact you for the access instructions. All right, we're going to go over to the assets tab. We are going to turn the script manager on. JavaScript defer, yes. Include jQuery, no. Delay JavaScript, yes, but it's only going to delay the following scripts, and we're not going to put anything in yet. Remove unused CSS, no, and then go ahead and save changes here. Next, we're going to go to preloading. We do want to enable Instapage, and we want to preload critical images. We're going to say 2 of them, and then we're going to go ahead and hit save here. Under lazy loading, we are going to lazy load images, exclude 2 leading images, iframes and videos, preview thumbnails. All of this is getting turned on. DOM monitoring, we want that off. Fade in, we can say on, and then add missing image dimensions, yes. And then background images, yes, but it's not going to do anything until you put in some selectors to target. But go ahead and hit save there. Fonts, disable Google Fonts, yes. And then that's going to get rid of everything else that is in that section. And that is how you set up Perfmatters. We have one step left to do, which is to show you how to deploy your Blueprint website. Now, like I said in the beginning, this depends on your hosting environment. Some website hosts have a one-click duplicate this website to this URL and you're off to the races. But if that doesn't exist for you, I still need to show you how to deploy this kind of manually, okay? So we're gonna go to plugins, add new, and we're gonna search for all-in-one. What we are looking for is this all-in-one WP migration plugin. We're gonna go ahead and hit install now. And it is installed. We are gonna go ahead and activate it. Perfect. And once that is done, we can go down to all-in-one WP migration and export to file right here. And it is going to export this entire Blueprint website that we just installed to a file. We're going to download it right there. And now watch this. We're going to go to local sites. We're going to go to add new and say new project, continue, preferred, okay? WordPress username. I'm going to go ahead and do Kevin at let's spell it right. digitalgravy.co. Put in my password, just like that. Put in my email, Kevin at digitalgravy.co. Add site. It's going to go ahead and add this website. It's going to ask me once again for my website or my computer credentials. I'll go ahead and put that in. It's going to not take very long at all. One-click admin gets turned on. Go into WP admin. I could be doing this on a live server right now. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go to add a new plugin. All-in-one migration. There it is right there. Let's install it and activate it. Awesome. We're going to go to import, and then I'm going to import from file. And guess what, guys? I just have to choose that downloaded file that we just downloaded a few seconds ago. It's going to go ahead and check everything. And then I'm going to say proceed. And it's going to just sit here and it's going to spin for a second. And it says your site has been imported successfully. Finish. Awesome. And I think I can just hit dashboard at this point. Okay, I'm going to put in my login credentials. And keep in mind, this is based on the users that were in your Blueprint website, right? Not the thing that we just set up in local. And guys, look at this. Everything is exactly the way that I want it. Look how fast that was. So this entire time of all these settings, all this configuration, you're only doing that once. You're not going to be a chump. You're not going to do that for every single website. What you're going to do for every single website going forwards is you're going to import that file, or you're going to one-click deploy the blueprint to a new URL in your website host, and you are up and running in seconds with everything exactly the way that you like it. I hope you guys got a lot of value out of this video. If you did, remember, pay with a like, pay with a comment, pay with a subscribe to this channel. I don't have sponsors. You don't have to watch interstitial ads that you can't skip. I don't do any of that stuff, okay? I don't care about YouTube ad revenue. I don't care about sponsors. I care about producing the highest quality content for WordPress, for best practices in dev and UX, UI, and SEO, and all the stuff that we talk about on this channel. I care about elevating freelancers and agency owners to help you guys make more money and produce better work. That's the stuff that I care about. Don't care about anything else, but I need your help to get this content in front of other people. I need likes, I need comments, I need subscribes. It's plain and simple. That's what I need. So go ahead and feed me, because I'm feeding you really good content. I'm out. I'll be back soon. Peace.